Chris here with another fat-wheeled e-bike. This is from a brand that I've yet to cover until now, Himiway. It is their Cruiser model, and you can understand why they call it the Cruiser, because it is a real cruising bike here with those nice spongy fat tires, 4 inches wide, 26-inch rims. And this bike is great for city commutes if you've got an A to B to get to and you don't want a foldable bike and you have space to store a larger bike like this. So we have with this bike here mechanical disc brakes, 180 millimeters, Shimano 7-speed setup for our drivetrain, a rear hub motor that is a powerful 750 watts. So this particular model here, bit of a spoiler, handles climbs with ease, which is great for a lot of people that do have steep climbs around. And that's why it is a real cruiser of a bike here. So the name just suits it perfectly. Battery capacity, very large, 17.5 amp hours. It is a removable battery, so you can easily replace it. You can charge it inside the house if you need to. And it is lockable, which is great. Now the seat post drops right down because of the style of frame, which is good. So this bike will cater to shorter people as well. If you want to check out the rider heights that it can handle, that it can cater to, check out their website for that information. So all up, it's probably one of the better bikes that I've reviewed of this style. So let's find out why I like this Cruiser model here so much. This bike uses Kenda brand. They are the Juggernaut tires, so they are 4 inches wide, 26 inches. And because they're so wide and they're soft, they run a low PSI. You can run about 10 to 15 PSI. They're very spongy. They soak up a lot of the light bumps. The Himiway Cruiser does come with these plastic mud guards and they don't rattle about. And being plastic, you don't have to worry about them chipping any paint or rusting later on. So these plastic mud guards and the bike rack right here are included and do come with the bike. Now the seat is nice and wide, it is comfortable, there's a quick release for the height adjustment and you can drop it down quite low because of the style of frame. And speaking of the frame, it does look excellent. The quality of their workmanship here of the frame, the welds and the paint job finish, this matte black is excellent. So we do have the controller right here. Our battery pack is very large. It's 17.5 amp hours and my model here has LG cells. Now some of the models they do sell might come with Samsung cells, but they are using at least brand components here with the battery. There is a lock right here. There is even a status indicator built into this battery, so pressing on the button you can see more or less how the battery is faring. There are 4 little LEDs there, so each one represents 25%. The front shock is a no brand front shock. I can't see any markings on it. It's not too bad. You can see from the oil mark here that the travel you get is approximately about 3 inches or so. It's okay, it does the job, it doesn't rattle. And yes, you can lock it out completely if you wanted to do so. The Cruiser does come with a powerful dual LED headlamp here that does have some lenses in there to project that light ahead. It's bright enough to light the path up ahead of you safely, and there is a LED in the rear and a reflector with the tail light that is part of the rear bike rack. For our drivetrain, we have 42 teeth at the front here, and then Shimano's Altus, which is very entry level from Shimano, but at least it is Shimano. Gear changes are good. I've had no issues with them whatsoever. We've got 7 different gears, and it is using a speed sensor, which is located here in the crank. So it's not a torque sensor, but the speed sensor I find seems to kick in straight away as soon as it detects that you are pedaling. The front hub here does have a quick release, so it is easy enough to remove that front wheel if you needed to do so. And no quick release on the rear hub, which is pretty standard. So the motor here, it's a 48 volt system, and it's 750 watts, the output from it. So it's powerful and very good in the climbs, as you'll see later on in this review. Now the brand of brake they went with is Tektro. They are well known. In fact, I've got Tektro brakes on my Trek Rail 5, which is an e-bike that's a lot more expensive than this. And we do have 180 millimeter discs, so larger than the 160 millimeter I typically see on these bikes. And the Tektro Aries, the pads bite in well to the discs, and overall I've got really no complaints with the braking performance of this bike, as you'll see later too with my braking test. The kickstand, it holds the bike up well and supports its 34 kilo heavy weight, and it doesn't rattle about. The bike has not fallen over on me yet, so overall it's a good kickstand. So this bike does not use lock grips. Unfortunately, you can see they spin around a little bit, so I would be replacing these straight away with some lock grips here. So a bit of controls for the bike: power on, light, this I button for info. You can cycle through the trip meter, the odometer, and a few other settings there. We've got the pedal assist levels, plus and minus, so it's 5 levels in total, or 0 just having it completely off like a normal bike. And right here we do have a bell that is incorporated into the brake lever. The bell's loud enough. So we have a twist style accelerator here. Now it's only up to 6 kilometers per hour, so it's really just used to get started, and then you start to pedal. So it will not get you up to 25 kilometers per hour just using this. We've got our gear selector here, so 7 speeds as mentioned. You can easily go up the gears here with your thumb and then just pull down on this to then change down the gears. The screen is very clear here. You can see your pedal assist levels right up to 5, our speed, battery indicator. So each one of those bars does represent their 20%. So there's 5 in total. And then we've got some information down here. So that is my trip meter there, odometer, time, max speed, and then the average speed can all be shown there. So what is the Himiway Cruiser like to ride? Well, it's a very comfortable bike. Those fat wheels do mean that it soaks up a lot of the small little bumps. You just don't really feel them. I'm currently running only 12 PSI in these tires here. Now you could go a little higher, you could even drop it down a little lower. And as a result, it does, yes, soak up a lot of those little bumps. And I think it's a good looking bike. Now it comes with the mud guards, the bike rack, and of course the kickstand. That's all part of the package here you do get included. Now the riding position is relatively upright. The handlebars are nice and high, and I do find it to be very comfortable. So you can use the accelerator here on the right side, but it only goes up to 6 kilometers. So it's basically just for pushing off, just to get yourself started really is all that accelerator is for. But once you start to pedal, the speed sensor, it takes about 3 to 4 kilometers of movement before it will kick in, but it is very good. The powerful motor, 750 watts. It's not that loud at all. You barely actually hear it, and it will get you up to 25 kilometers per hour very easy. Now if you push really hard, trying to get a good top speed out of this, I can get up to around 32 kilometers per hour, but it's difficult to go over that because of these fat wheels and the bike's weight. As for space, you can see my knees are nowhere near the handlebars. I've got plenty of room. It is a large frame size, very spacious, and pretty much an upright riding position. I do find it very comfortable. Climb test now. So we're looking at about a 25-degree climb and a 750 watt motor with the 7-cylinder gears. I've got it in the lowest gear at the moment. So I can start out using the accelerator here, but that's just, as I mentioned, just to get going really. And then as soon as I start pedaling, this is climbing up this and powering ahead up to 17, 18 kilometers and probably even 19. Yeah, there we go. Not a problem at all. I can even go up some gears here. It's got a huge amount of power to climb up this. Not a problem at all. This is climbing a lot better than so many of the other e-bikes I've reviewed, which are normally limited to only 250 watts. Boy, do you notice that difference when you've got 500 watts more of power. It is just rocketing up this climb. Absolute ease, and I'm not going to work up a sweat at all. I'm putting a little bit of effort in, but hardly anything. Now our brakes, we've got 180 millimeter mechanical disc brakes from a known brand, TechTablets. So from this point, I'm full on braking. Good brakes. It's easy to lock up the rear, but excellent braking performance here. Now the brakes did take approximately around 20 kilometers to bed them in. So in the beginning, they don't feel quite as good as they will after around 20-30 kilometers of riding and braking. But good brakes, larger than normal. Most bikes only go with 160 mechanical disc brakes, so I'm glad they went with the larger 180. to improve the braking performance, and a known brand like Tektro. Of course, we do have a shock on the front, and it's got a reasonable amount of travel, around about 2.5 inches. It's not a lot, and it is enough to help out with more bumpy roads. Like right now, I'm on these pavers that are very all over the place, very up and down, and it's helping just remove some of those bumps there, the front shock. But to be honest, most of the work is being done by the 4-inch wide fat tires, because they do soak up a lot of these bumps here, helping to smooth out the ride. Even though it's a hard tail, it's not as rough the ride as you'd expect. The front shock, it hasn't bottomed out on me. It does seem to be reasonably good, even though it is a no brand front shock. All right, so what about our range? Now, I get around about 15 kilometers for every battery bar that I lose here on the screen. So that means my range is around 75 kilometers, which is, yes, shorter than 96 kilometer claim, but it's gonna vary on your terrain, rider weight too as well, and how often you are pedaling over 25 kilometers per hour, which it is limited to. Now, you can unlock that speed. There's a video they have, just search the Himiway Cruiser, and I think it's unlock speed. It'll come up in YouTube, and that's a guide on how to do that. But I've left it at the lot 25 kilometers, which is, of course, the legal limit here in Europe. So very powerful motor. It climbs great. The frame, the geometry of it, the welds, the finish of the paint job, it's pretty much flawless. It's excellent. I think it's actually a good looking bike for this style. It rides really well, so very smooth, comfortable, upright riding position, good handlebar height, good handlebar width, comfortable seat, and yes, the climbs, as I mentioned, because of that performance. It just rockets up the climbs, no problems. The Tektro brakes, again, another really good area here. So they went for a brand component, not a non-branded brake that you just don't know if it's any good or not. They've got no name to them because they simply have no brand name. But no, they're Tektro, and they're 180 millimeters, so better braking performance than normal, than the 160 millimeter brakes that I often do see. And then the Kenda tires as well, another brand component, LG battery, very good. My complaints about this bike are pretty obvious. One, it's heavy, it's large. So you need a place to store it, of course. Now, the good thing is you can take out the battery, you can charge it in your house if you've got the bike locked up somewhere, say downstairs or wherever. That is one good thing. The other complaint is very minimal, easily fixed. The grips on the handlebars, they're not lock grips. They should be, they aren't. That's a bit disappointing. And I would have preferred the brakes to be hydraulic, but really how they brake, the performance you're getting out of them, it's not a con at all really. Nice large screen that you can clearly see. So overall, this is, as you imagine now watching the review, if you've made it this far, I think a very good e-bike if you're after this style, this cruiser style. So thank you so much for watching my review here of the Himiway Cruiser 26-inch fat wheel e-bike.